Yo, what is going on, CoD Familia? It is your boy, BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today we are going to be not talking like that for the entire video, but instead taking a listen in a moment to a video that GUNZ had recently released titled, I'm Leaving Noir, Here Is Why. Now, I, for one, am giddy like a schoolgirl on a Sunday morning, not going to church, instead skipping along the sidewalk because that's how fancy little ladies do it, to listen to this. But before we do, let's preface and walk back just a little bit. And as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you throw us up, because it helps out a lot. So, let's take a gander at 840 from a previous video titled, Will I Leave Noir? Echo Rallies Me. Very important here is that this video was put out on November 18th, 2024, so about a month ago.
Where am I going? Am I leaving Noir? Am I leaving Noir to go to TFS with my main account? Am I leaving Noir to go to Echo with my main account? Short answer, no. I'm not leaving Noir, guys. I personally cannot leave Noir right now because just because things are looking rough for Noir right now doesn't mean I'm just going to leave, right? I don't think... I don't have some of the reasons other people have to not want to be here. The way that I look at it is, you know, yes, Noir is going through a rough time right now, but even though we're going through a rough time, you know, we are still 18 billion power at 140 members. So we are going to get like 60 more members, right? So that's some of your guys' chance in this video watching. If you would like to join amongst the ranks against with the strongest alliances in the game, now it's going to be one of your guys' chances, because once we fill back up and everyone's and our ranks are more active than they were last season, it's going to be harder to get in. So if some of you guys are interested in joining, make sure you message Stretch, any of the R4s really, and then I'm sure they'll direct you, because I'm not sure who's what title now, right? So make sure you message one of them, get in touch with them, lets you guys know. But yeah, that's the reason why I'm not leaving, bro. I can't just leave people because things are getting rough, right? Because in my personal opinion, it's like, what does that say about you? You know, like every alliance that just takes a downward spiral, are you just gonna leave? You know what I mean? Like where is like some sense of loyalty, you know? And like I've mentioned to you guys before, the only way that I would personally leave Noir is if I'm trying to get a new angle of the game, right? If I'm trying to get a new angle of the game for content purposes. But in this case, like it's not going to be any better, you know? Because what if you leave to another alliance thinking it's going to be better, but it's not? Because I've seen that happen multiple times, and then your previous alliance ends up, you know, overcoming their struggles and moving on. So yeah, guys, I'll be staying in Noir. Places that I might go if I were to leave Noir, not this season, maybe the next one, maybe never, I don't know. I think YY was over there with Sheesh is one of them, and then my boy Captain CoD with the We Are One Alliance, and potentially also with TFS. But I already have my baby GUNZ account, and I'm doing good work there with it. So
there is a lot to break down with what GUNZ said there. I think it's very important to understand that there are and could be some things that maybe have changed for why he has decided to potentially leave. Again, we're going to go and listen to the other video now and see what he has to say there. Are there any dots that connect? What answer is he going to give us based on the video that he put out, right? This is December 17th, so that one was like a month, less than a month ago. Let's see what he's got for us. Because get ready, Guns or Poozy. I might be bang bang in your face with lovely words. Lovely words. Here we go.
What is going on, guys? Your boy GUNZ here, and today, as I'm sure you saw in the title, I will be leaving Noir. And I know what some of you guys are probably thinking, so I'm like, I need to make sure that I also address that. I mean, I've had this decision I forgot what video I posted. Some of you guys called me out. We're like, "Yo, we saw what that mail said, right? We saw what that mail said. We know that you're leaving TFS." So let me, before I get into a little bit more details and what's going on and stuff like that, let me show you guys the mail, okay? Personal mail right here. So I'll read it to you guys. After some thought and recent news that we are skipping KVK, this complicates my content creation plan of having offset accounts. Having this recent news, I will be migrating my account to another kingdom, and my alt account will go to G1 server. Disclaimer, this has nothing to do with Noir leadership, as I very much have a lot of respect for Saturo and the leadership. To all the fighters of Noir, it has been a great...
I just want to point out, I don't know if anyone else notices this, but I absolutely love how with certain words that he says, for those of you that might be from a Hispanic or Latin background, how he puts that nice little twang, little Spanish twang on some of those words. Maybe it's just me.
2 seasons with you guys, and appreciate every single one of you guys, and looking forward to seeing you guys in the future and in the streams. To the new players joining our, my sincere apologies to you guys who wanted to fight alongside of me, but as you may know, I need to make decisions based off content and what puts food on the table for me and my family. Love guns. So as some of you guys know, I did make a previous video saying that I was going to stay in Noir, that I wasn't going to leave because of everything, because of everyone leaving, right? And that was my plan, right? I was like, okay, what, you know, the new mages are coming out. Like, I'm a main mage and I'm a content creator. How could I not have the new mages right away, right? Ultimately, I had to make the decision. If I was going to go anywhere else, it was going to be either Echo or TFS, right? And out of respect for my boy Jason, believe it or not, guys, I didn't go to Echo, right? I didn't go to Echo for that reason. As you guys know, me and freaking Jason, you know, we've had our past, our differences, but it's been a vibe, man. It's been a vibe in Team Fest. And that goes to your guys' probably next question. Where are you going? I'll be going with my main account to Team.
Okay. So before we get to the main account portion, I want to talk a little bit about the content line, which is GUNZ talking about how he wants to be able to go somewhere or leave based on content. Now, I guess maybe we could wait a little bit because maybe he might actually dive into this, but I just want to give a general sense of what direction I think he might go in, because I haven't watched this video the whole way through. So for me, when I think about GUNZ's position with content and being able to, one, right, he probably wants to be in a position to live stream for any PvP, wars. Now, most of the time when GUNZ is streaming, he's usually streaming himself playing in those wars, right? At least when it pertains to KVK and fighting. Sometimes he will stream KVK wars or KVK watch parties. Right, this is what you would usually see me do back when I was doing streaming, I guess, in the day. But in GUNZ's case, he predominantly streams himself playing. And so him trying to look to maximize being in kingdoms that are going to either have maybe back-to-back KVKs, which could be something, or maybe putting 2 accounts in 2 different tier kingdoms, right? So maybe he can do one account in a kind of A seed kingdom or a Paragon kingdom, and then maybe he does another one in like a B kingdom or maybe like a top C, right? So that way he can potentially get kind of both sides of the bracket and be able to speak to the different maybe styles of play at those different levels. Another approach is that he could just put 2 of his accounts in 2 A kingdoms and maybe 2 different Paragons, right? Or maybe he'll do an A Paragon, a B Paragon, or a top A, a top B. There's a couple different ways that can go. The other thing is that you have to think about lining up timelines. And what do I mean by that, right? We might touch on this again in a little bit, but let me just briefly explain what I mean when I say kind of lining up timelines here. Oh gosh, hang on one second. I actually have to load up my Call of Dragons game again. But what essentially I mean here is that when you are thinking about what kingdoms you want to put an account in, that, oh gosh, okay, well, I can't show it to you now. But essentially, if you were looking in game and you zoomed all the way out and you went to the kingdom list, you would be able to see where it says Season 1, Season 2, Pre-Strife, Season of Strife. The challenge is that once you get to Season of Strife, just like with any season, you can't go back to a season, right? So you can't go from Season of Strife to pre-Strife, right? You have to be able to migrate within the same season, but you have to wait to migrate to a kingdom that's in pre-war, meaning they have finished their KVK season and their migration window has opened. So this means that he can't go back a season, right? And if they are going to continue aligning kingdoms on the same timelines as they have been doing now, this has been the most recent Season of Strife for the front runner kingdom pool, has received the most amount of new kingdoms that they have in the past couple seasons. If you remember last season, 314 with YY was the kingdom that got added to the front line or to the main G1 pool. And then you got a couple more added this season. And so more kingdoms, I feel, will continue to add themselves in the timeline. So will it really matter if GUNZ opts to go into a kingdom that is on a different timeline because he might only be there for maybe one season? Maybe it will be more. It really just depends. Now, obviously, they haven't merged all of the kingdoms over to the same pool, but part of me feels like that's just where it's going to end up going. So I'm just curious if he'll touch on any of those. Let's continue.
PFS. My alt account is either going to go to the Sheesh Alliance or drop a comment on the video. Where else? Right now I'm thinking either the Sheesh Alliance with YY or my boy Captain CoD. I mean, it's a 92 million power account, right? And it has to be offsetted with the TFS season. So that's gonna what you see here when I put that my content creation plan of having offset accounts is gonna be off now. So with Noir skipping a KVK, that was gonna put TFS and Noir in the same freaking in the same, like, how do you say it, timeline. Meaning there's a chance that Noir and TFS could fight each other. So that's a big problem, right? That's a big problem. I spoke with Saturo and he's like, yeah, I totally get it. You know, you're going to make decisions based off, you know, for your content. Is this what you're doing for a living right now? So I totally understand, right? And nothing against Sato for sure. I will get into some things that I did notice though, right? I'm not gonna sugarcoat stuff for you guys. So with that being said, I was like, you know what? Where am I having the most fun at? And dude, let me tell you that the TFS on my alt account, I had a lot of fun, dude.
Okay, so interesting that he does mention the timeline portion, right? Because we had just talked about that. That could be one of the things, but you also have to think and consider, well, are they going to be merging more kingdoms from what you could say is the G2 pool, or basically the kingdoms that are currently in a KVK group within Season of Strife? Because you have the pre-war kingdoms right now that Noir opted out of, 314 opted out of, and they're not registered, so they're skipping. I think there's a couple others in there as well. And they most likely will end up within the TFS group and with others as well, because they're the ones that are soonest to come out of their KVKs. I believe it's on the 24th or something around there. And so they might only have to wait a few weeks at this point. But where GUNZ's main account is right now, he would basically be lining both of those up, because I think his small account, as he said, is in TFS. His main is still here in the war. So, you know, I guess the thing I will just kind of err on the side of caution is that if he does migrate it to a different kingdom, and the kingdom that he migrates it to eventually gets added to the same front runner pool, you just will end up in the same situation once again. Now, maybe he's okay with being willing to migrate one of his characters every season, right? I mean, he probably makes a decent amount, probably could do something like that, but then you just have to weigh off the investment. So are you willing, whether you have to do it every season, every other season, every couple seasons, is that worth it, right? Based on kind of what you're getting, what you're making as a creator, or just the value that you see. Right? Even if you might be losing or not gaining or profiting in some areas, are you gaining subs? Are you gaining views? Do you see that there's some kind of net positive to you making such a move? So that would be interesting to see if he decides to not only do that, but how continuously will he and may he have to do that, right, with one of his two accounts.
Dude, I had a lot of fun. And then I heard that Strange and her crew were coming to TFS. Dude, that I vibe with TFS heavy. Right. And and everyone else, and like a few other people that are coming in with top 5, right? It doesn't matter to me right now. To me right now, is just enjoying the game and be chill. Boy, Gray Balls was the only, it was Strange. Obviously they announced that they were leaving. So with Strange leaving, everyone else leaving, I wasn't really talking to too many people in Noir. Why did Noir fall? Oh my god, dude. The amount of trolling that I saw a lot of people doing in the Discord, I'm not gonna lie, guys, I'm very disappointed. I'm very disappointed because unfortunately, one of the things that I've noticed in the COD community, it's like a very like mob kind of mentality. Like, boom, once someone says something about, for example, Sato, and bam, just everyone starts going crazy, making memes, making jokes, bro. This is like bullying tier 1. Like it's not cool, guys, at all. Like,
and just to point out some of the memes, I actually just grabbed a couple, just in order, not trying to over highlight anything specific. I just grabbed a bunch, and these are actually here. Let me just turn this off for a sec. Right, so these are some of the memes that I just grabbed and pulled. I think this is probably what he's referring to, right? But these were some of the ones that were posted on the COD Discord under the COD memes channel, and there is definitely no shortness. I also grabbed this one, which I thought was absolutely hilarious, and I apologize because I forget who posted this one. Just guns watching honking chicks having fun out in the field. I mean, again, I don't know if that's how Guns feels or not, but I did just think that was funny, whoever made that. Let's continue.
Regardless of what Sato had going on in the alliance, or he didn't, because I have zero clue. I've obviously heard rumors and whatnot, right? We need to do our best. And I say this, and I just share this with you guys because, this is my channel, and I always want to share with you guys like my...
Yo, is it just me, or would we take him more seriously if he didn't chuckle and was not wearing a Santa hat? I'm just saying, food for thought.
My mindset, I'm like, some of you guys go a little too far, man. You guys don't think about it, like what kind of effect that you can have on people's mental health when you're just constantly in their head saying this, that, pointing the fingers, and you guys know exactly who it is in the Discord that are doing these things, and to be honest, that is not cool, bro. So if you are part of that, hopefully nothing like this happens again. And I get it, bro. I get it. People love drama. But one thing is like a little jab, right? A little jab or whatever, and you kind of move on. But another thing is like you literally kept talking crap until Sato left the Discord, and that was not cool, bro. That was not cool. That definitely opened my eyes a little bit. I'm like, wow. Some people didn't even know Sato. They were just like, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's crazy, right? But anyways, don't be bullies, guys, okay? Moral of the story, don't be bullies. People have feelings, man. Now, some of the things that I noticed with Noir, right? Because some of you guys were like, well, what the hell happened with Noir? Like, what happened? One of the things I will say, and I'm not going to say any names, right? One of the things I noticed that there was a change in leadership. When the change in leadership happened, the vibe was just off. The vibe was just off, right? I'm like, something's going on.
Yeah, and to be clear, right, what he's talking about here is the changing of the officer team, most likely. For those that may or may not be privy to this, if you didn't watch the video where I covered what was happening in Noir and basically just shared feedback from people that shared stuff with me, and I just kind of gave a voice to that, and then I shared some of my thoughts on it. One of the things I consistently heard from people that were old R4s in Noir is that either all of the old R4s or almost all of them, maybe with the exception of one or two, but from what I heard, it was most, if not all, basically left, and there was a brand new officer team that was introduced, whether that be an all or up to all. And that's basically what I imagine GUNZ is referring to here, which I don't think is like bad to say. Even if he's not going to name names, you could at least say that, because that's kind of a broad, vague, but at least gives people somewhat of a introductory understanding of what he's going to be speaking towards.
Bro, like, no one's really in Discord, no one's really communicating, like, what is happening? You know what I mean? And then ultimately I saw Strange was no longer in R4. I was like, maybe Strange got into it with them a little bit, or SP, I don't know. I didn't ask zero questions. And even to this day, obviously I've heard rumors and whatnot, but even to this day, I never like really asked them. At least I don't think I did. Yeah, I never really asked them anything about that. And this, and the reason why I'm sharing this with you guys is for those R4s and R5s in the community. You guys need to be careful with how you guys choose your leadership, right? Because when it comes to like choosing your leadership, one thing is like if you're the R4 or R5 and you're like, this person's good. But in a team, you got to make sure that you're asking yourself like, how do they work together? Are they going to work well with everyone else? Like, what's the situation, right? Because one thing, guys, is like if a R1, R2, R3 leaves, right? And they didn't kind of have like influence on the alliance, because everyone has a certain set of influence, but you know who has crazy amounts of influence? R4s, R5s. Obviously R5s, right? But especially R4s. When you got players like Strange, Stretch, Santa, and a few other people that announced their good.
Excuse me, sir. It is Santa. Get it right. Stop putting your twang on everything. God.
Buys in Noir, like,
I love GUNZ so much,
dude. They have people that like them and vibe with them in the Discord, so they're gonna follow them where they go, you know. And that's exactly what happened. Like, yes, sure, there was some internal stuff obviously happening with Noir, but the main thing was that the internal stuff happened at the upper level. So with that being said, you know, it wasn't like, oh my god, Sato's such a horrible leader, Noir's falling apart, you know what I mean? In my opinion, it has nothing like that, bro. It's nothing like that. So when you go there, sorry, someone knocked on my door and straight up threw my whole train of thought off. Yeah, so when you got people like Strange leaving, dude, that's gonna send a rippling effect. On top of that, big players quit the game, guys. Fluffy Waffles quit the game, right? Tanjiro quit the game. Freaking who else quit? My boy Perch quit the game. Dude, the list goes on, guys. And if I forgot your name, I apologize. If you're watching this, you're like, this motherfucker, I don't even play this game no more. He forgot my name. Like, I apologize. Okay, I mean, I'm sorry.
Could have said Neff.
But a lot of people quit the game, dude. A lot. Then it brings on to the next point.
Okay, so I just want to recap real quick, right? Let's just do a brief deep dive here on the management approach. So what he's talking about is that when you are a member of management, an officer, an R4 and R5, one of the things we often talk about is when you are an officer, you are essentially an extension of your R5, right? It's kind of like a store manager, and then you have team leads or department heads. You are kind of an extension of a culture, of an environment, of a product, standards, expectations that your leader wants to try and instill and to spread amongst the alliance, right? Because every alliance has to start with an R5. It has to usually start with some kind of an idea, an image, a way that you want to approach the game and behave, and put those ideas out to your members. And so as an officer, most of the time, right, you have to think about it. You have one R5. You can now have, up to what, 10? 10, oh God, I'm sorry, some water went down the wrong pipe. Right, you can have 10 R4s now. Used to be 8. But the point is that you have more officers than you do elite, which means that you have more people, a part of the officer team, that are having conversations and interacting with players. Okay, I feel so much better now. And so because of this, if you think about all of the players, think about you having a 200-player alliance. You have 10 officers. You could probably handle, that's like 20 people per officer at that point. Most of the time, your officers are going to be interacting with the players more often and more likely than a leader will, than an R5 will. It doesn't mean that they can't. It's just that there's a higher percentage chance of this happening because you have more officers than you have, right? It's a 10-to-1 ratio from officer to lead if you have up to 10. And so because of this, also, you're going to have officers that usually are going to have different roles. You can have an officer or two or however many that are like frontline PvP fighters, people that do behemoth raids and leads, people that organize routes of war, people that organize alliance mobilization or any kind of AVA or PvE related events. And more often than not, officers may be the leads for those particular events. They may be the organizers for those. And what do the players see when those events come up? Well, first and foremost, they probably see the officer there that's leading them. And then, yeah, sure, if the leader joins here or there. And so this isn't to anyone's fault. It's not to say that, your leader needs to be doing a lot more. Sometimes delegating is a part of the leader's job. But when it comes to having a level of influence, as GUNZ is speaking to, and I'm only naming a couple things, officers do and can have more influence than you may think. And I'll give you a great example here. When GUNZ mentions Strange leaving, right, this to me, whether you want to value Strange's position in the same or a similar type, but I would compare it similarly to CoD. When CoD left, when CoD decided to leave TFS, there was about half, give or take, depending on how many you want to say, of players that left with CoD to go to 60 and ended up there, and then Jason and the rest of his guys stayed in 23. And so now bear in mind, I'm not necessarily saying that the amount of people that will leave and go with Strange will be the same amount of people that left and that will leave and join and that went with CoD. But what I'm saying is that you can have different values and levels of impact as an officer, and those impacts are real. And sometimes they won't be felt until after those people leave, or even sometimes a season after. So again, just wanted to speak to that and give a little bit more clarity, because I did think that this was a good point that GUNZ brought up.
Wait, it brings on to the next point. Did they quit because Noir had boring KVKs, right? Do I think that played a factor into it? Yes, I do think it played a factor. Do I think it played a major factor into it? Yes and no, and I can't answer that question specifically because I'm not them, right? I can't say, right? But what I will say is, now 2020 hindsight, I do think that Noir probably should have took a little bit of a tougher KVK. And I've only been with Noir for 2 seasons. So I think probably one tough KVK that kind of builds that camaraderie amongst the troops was probably definitely needed, and there's no line about that. Now, do I blame Diplo, the way Diplo was handled last season with whole like GG and everything? I don't blame it for like, oh, we got GG on our side, because being Noir, I'm pretty sure, like I said, I'm just speculating here. Being Noir, I'm pretty sure people speculated like, look, people are gonna do crazy Diplo against them, so we gotta make sure that our side is strong up here in the north side of the teams. So I get where it was coming from, but ultimately it ended up backfiring because the South, which was Frick, if I remember right, Echo, BXS, and NTS, they didn't want to play together. I don't know exactly whose fault that was. I'm sure you guys know whose fault that was, or what, or who to point the finger, but that didn't work out. At that point, me personally, I would have been like, I would have told my ally, like, look, guys, I know we agreed to be allies, but this looks pretty lopsided. We're going to have to make some adjustments to actually make this KVK a little bit better, right? But, yeah, that was pretty much it. So, like, that kind of addresses some of the major things that, like, people were concerned about.
Yeah. So I just want to point out, I personally just think GUNZ is sugarcoating this right now. Now, I don't know if he watched the video that I put out where I went and asked each of the R5s and or KVK diplomacy reps from all of the alliances that were in that particular KVK, where we shed the light on what actually happened in that KVK diplo. But the short answer is that nothing happened, because everyone joined, but nobody actually presented any pairings. Nobody presented any stats or data to say, well, hey, this is the matchup that we think would be most fair and most enjoyable for everyone participating this season, and this is why. Nobody did that. And then you end up hearing that Noir and GG basically had an early diplo that went in. I mean, like, let's just call it how we see it, right? And this isn't to blame Noir. It's not to blame GG or anyone else involved. What it's to say is that it is a collective effort. And if you are not coming to the table in earnest, which unfortunately none of the alliances did, based on the feedback that we shared from the majority of the KVK Diplo reps from all of the alliances that participated, or we should say the main top alliances that participated from each of the kingdoms in that KVK, that was the feedback that we heard, that nobody really provided anything. And then, what do you expect? You're going to end up having people that will just reach out and probably DMs before they even come to the table. You might have some group or pairings or allies that are already formed before people even joined that Discord. It just kind of sucks, right? When you hear things like that, because if it was me, and I was a KVK rep, I would come to the table and I would say, guys, look, here's all the data. This is what I think the pairing should be. This is what would be most fair. Then let's give a round robin. Let's hear what everyone has to say. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Okay, if you disagree, do you have a counter pairing that you would like to present? One that you think would be better? Maybe there's some intangibles or other things that the first suggestion or first proposal didn't work out. And then you just keep discussing. Like, it's a very simple and easy process, but yes, it does take a little bit of work, and it also requires everyone to come to the table with a level of responsibility, accountability, and integrity, in understanding that it's not about them, it's about all the players that are participating in that KVK, right? So it's not about you, it's about everyone that you represent, everyone that you are responsible for. And so, and like I said, that's where I really was just disappointed with how that played out. But again, man, I mean, let's just call it for what it was.
About Noir.
I guess, sorry, the last thing I'll say here is that I do agree here with GUNZ in that it was a factor. How much of a factor? I mean, listen, some of the feedback that I've heard from players that are either not playing anymore or that left Noir told me, and this isn't everyone, I'll just say some, to keep things fair, is they said that, yeah, that was one of the reasons. They didn't say it was the biggest reason, but they did say that it was a reason for why they either stopped playing or for why they decided to leave or just for why the seasons were boring and they saw activity drop off because of the fact that the matchups did not allow for as much overall consistent engagement in PvP and action and fun throughout the entirety of the season for as much time out of that 60-day season or 55-day season that they would have liked to see.
Now, a lot of people are like, Noir's gonna die now. Bro, Noir is not gonna die. A lot of the players that are leaving Noir already moved into some other alliance. Where are they at? Let's see. Alliance merits right here. So you got Santa, TFS Icon, Kikazoid, Vile, sorry, Paper Cuts, Navegador, Therapy Session. I don't know who that is. Stretch, Strange, Viper, Teddy, Santa, Nephisto, SP, Wally. Like, okay, those are some of the ones that we know. There's still some people within the alliance, like myself, that are gonna leave. And my wife. I don't know of anyone else because I personally haven't messaged anyone in Noir, and I don't even care. You could even see in my PMs. All my PMs are public. You guys know this, right? So if you message me in PMs, like, I will be very honest with you guys. So with that being said, is Noir gonna die? No, I don't think Noir is gonna die because once everyone leaves, I think Noir will probably be like 17 billion at the least. And when you have someone like Sato that has the experience, I feel like he could definitely, even with the 17, bro, you're 17 billion power, and they already told, or a lot of people, they told a lot of people that were inactive to leave or whatever. So like, you're 17 billion, like, slim, like, you are still a force to reckon with. I've had people in Alliance, in YouTube stream chat saying like, oh, Noir's so dead now. Like, what alliance are you from? And then they would.
Yeah, so I think my thoughts on this is similar to situations we've seen before. I think a really good example of this is when you saw what TFS opted to do after Assad and Echo left, right? Like, so let's look at some history here. When Assad and Echo left, or when Assad left and they formed Echo in 60, right, Jason opted to try and fill that void with basically what has gone down in history as the no cap migration season. And that's where you were pretty much able to bring in anyone and everyone that you wanted to within that 300 player limit, because there was essentially not a cap, right? And or the cap was just so high that it didn't really matter at that point. That's why 23 it was able to get to be so big, right? It was like 37, 38 billion power. I mean, they were really getting close to 40. They probably could have hit 40 or went over it if they wanted to. But they brought in ANCS. And then from there, they played that season out. The very next season, right? Which is why I say let this simmer a season or two, see how it plays out. Because really, Noir is going to need a season or two of recalibrating, restabilizing, and then seeing what they can do by bringing people in. It is clear that there are still players that are willing to join Noir, because we've shown that off when we did our big migration movement video, where we showed you the people that had left Noir already and players that had joined Noir, right? And it was pretty much about the same. Like, it was kind of even. I think they might have had maybe one or two more people that had joined over the people that left, but we even showed you the power that exited. We showed you the power that came in. And again, that was just kind of one scoop at that time. And so do I think that Noir is going to immediately die from this? Or do I think that they're going down the path of destruction? I don't. But I do think it will be important to pay attention to see what happens, because what ended up happening in 23 was that after that one season where ANCS played with TFS, the very next season, TFS opted to leave. They trimmed and they cut the fat and they took all their lean meat and went to 40, which is where you see them now. And then ANCS left 23. They did the same thing. They trimmed, took their lean meat to, I think it was to 66, if that's correct, and I might be misquoting that number. And so now do you think that Noir is going to need to leave in order to do some trimming? Will enough players go inactive over a period of time? Will they get enough people to leave? I do think that it's maybe worth staying. Like, if I was managing and running this kingdom, I would probably say to myself, okay, well, let's do an assessment of all the players. Let's track all the players that haven't moved or haven't been playing, haven't logged in. Let's keep track of our top 300 power or our total kingdom power. Let's get an assessment for who's planning to leave, who is not contributing that's still here, right? So you can kind of track your dead weight as well. And then let it play out a season and kind of see how things go. Are you noticing that your dead weight is lessening and lessening season to season? That maybe makes it worth it more staying. Or is it not, and it's either not going down, maybe it's increasing, then maybe you need to make a decision on potentially trimming and then dumping and going to basically a rebuild server, right? But I think them at least playing it out one or two more seasons to see how things will go is at least worth a shot.
But tell me, and then they'll be like, no offense to those of you guys that are under 12 billion power, they'll be like a 10. But when, like I said, are people perfect? No. And from what I know, talking with Sato and just his like level of planning that goes into it, I mean, there's a reason why Noir was number one for a while. There's a reason why Jason had a number one alliance for a while, right? There's a reason why other alliances had number ones for a while, right? Can't think of them at the top of my... Oh yeah, TA at the time. There's a reason why. There's a reason why, whether it was a group effort or whatever, like they can do it, right? For example, one of the things that I always say about Noir, and I still strongly do believe, I think that Sato is probably one of the best Roots of War leaders in the game. I know how, trust me, I got ears everywhere. I know how Echo does it. I know how all the top games or teams play. I know all their plans. I know everything, right? Because that's something that I look at as far as like League. And dude, let me tell you, bro, the Noir Roots of War, every single march is accounted for. Every single march, you have a role to play. Sometimes that role can be pretty boring, but because I had one, my role has been garrison leader and rally leader, and my job and the too far, you know. I know not everyone was partaking in it, but yeah, it wasn't cool. So with that being said, guys, I don't think Noir, like I told you guys, it went too far, dude. It went too far. You got to do what you got to do. Anyways, I'm saying that stuff, guys, out of respect for Noir, aka Sato, and the leadership that still remains here in Noir. For people to bash Noir and say the things that they have been saying is crazy, man. Like I told you guys, it went too far, dude. It went too far. You guys know it went too far. You know, you can't blame those players. You can't blame those players by any means, because no one can really predict this. This can happen to anyone, and ultimately it happens to everyone, right? In terms of like breaking apart. Look at TFS. They were number one. They broke apart. Echo was born, right? TA was broken into God knows how many different pieces now. You know what I mean? And like before they lost their top spot. So it's like it happens to everyone. So one of the things to take from my video, guys, is for you.
So, you know, I just want to be clear here that there are very big differences between things that are controllable versus uncontrollable. And I'm talking about actions, choices that R5's officers make as a part of management teams for why or why not they can coexist or not. And sometimes being able, like, let's just be very upfront and honest, right? Not everyone is fantastic at things like soft skills. And one of the parts of being good at soft skills, or just having soft skills, or that just factors into it, or is a part of that, is communication. And just not everyone's great at communication, right? Not everyone has good kind of people skills. That's why sometimes you will appoint certain individuals to be diplomacy reps. Like, you know, one of the things that GUNZ said on stream that I've heard him is, you know, give him, giving out PR training certificates, or asking people, hey, are you PR trained before you come on? And that's just kind of an example of just having good or self-aware soft skills. So you understand that there are certain ways to go about talking to people and certain ways that you communicate in a number of different situations. And these are things that I truly believe is a huge factor, a huge and important characteristic that has an incredible amount of value if you are going to be an R5. And usually there's a lot more of that emphasis put on an R5 lead, and then a little bit less, but still a good amount on the officer team. And I'm not saying that the communication part is what brought the demise down for any of these alliances. What I'm simply saying is that it is of vital importance that people that get into management positions either try to work on this or understand the level of, without being so redundant, I'll just say the level of importance again, that nurturing and really honing, working on something like this can have, and the impact, there we go, the impact that it can have on an alliance and their team. And as a lead, oftentimes you need to almost be very self-aware and also be good at setting expectations and having an understanding on, you know, how you kind of give feedback and also how you receive it. Because I could tell you without a shadow of a doubt, being in leader positions myself across a number of different kingdom builders, you very quickly will realize that it's not necessarily that people are like gunning for you, or they're trying to attack you, or they're trying to give you criticism and it maybe comes off aggressive. It's oftentimes that it's a matter of listening, addressing, and then being able to respond in a respectful way that not only answers their questions, but also allows for them to feel a sense of fulfillment. That feels like, oh, you know what? Not only did he listen to me, but he really heard me, or she really heard me. And we were able to have a nice back and forth about something that we're having. But again, for situations that are uncontrollable, ones that you feel like you don't really have kind of any way, it's just different, right? And that's really where I'm getting at, is that you have some controllable and some uncontrollable situations that can probably be easier, more challenging, or what may feel like impossible to navigate. And for some people, their only option that they see in their mind can be just to leave, right? If they feel like they've been backed into a corner. So, okay, let's finish this out.
You guys to listen to the things that I have been saying and put it in your toolbox and try to learn from everyone. So, above everything, guys, we gotta have respect for each other. You guys know one of my rules, even with in the community, as you guys may know, there's a lot of drama going on right now between names that we will not say, that you guys know who, which I hope gets resolved rather quickly because it's not good for our community.
What happened?
Anyways, guys, yes, I chose TFS. I told you guys I've been vibing over there. I've been chilling. Yeah, even bro, even when everyone migrates to TFS, we might only be 9 or 10. And this is live. Group, group. You know, so some of you guys, a lot of you guys actually have messaged me about TFS, and I'm like, look, guys, I'm not a recruiter for them, right? But if you are interested, make sure you message Jason or Tiny or my boy Jay.
I just want to point out that that was such a shameless plug. He goes from "I'm not a recruiter" to "Hey, but you know who you can message." I mean, I get it, but can we just call that for what it was? Just my man switched gears immediately.
Jake, or really any R4, and I'm sure that they'll point you to the right direction. And I told you guys this, you like with the baby GUNZ account, I was like, bruh, this is a story that I want to be a part of, right? Boys, you know, I already told my boy Gray. I know he just got to MFD, but I'm like, hey, bruh. He's saying, Echo, if you're hearing this, I got you, my boy. Just let me know. Now Saud's gonna be like, oh, this mofo right here. GUNZ might be going there. Like, you can just hear it straight from me. And if you still have any questions, put it in the comments section. Now, 1, if I want to be there anyways, and 2, if they're gonna help me with these passports, because these passports are hella expensive. So, if you fit those 2 criteria, let me know, guys. Let me know. We can make something happen. On top of that, above everything, guys, like, and I said it earlier, like, have some respect for each other, man. Competitive banter is one thing, but you know, crossing the lines and where it goes. I mean, like I said, it might be my alt account, but don't get it twisted, bro. Don't get it twisted. I got 17 million merits over there. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I waited days to drop this video, and I feel like, you know what, the time's right now. I was sitting here, I was like, you know what? I think the time is right. So with that being said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and my transparency with you guys and me sharing with you guys how I feel, right? Like this is my channel and this is my home, and I obviously welcome all you guys to my home. So you guys just get a little insight to what's going on in my brain and the way that I think about things, right? Some of you guys may agree, some of you guys may disagree, some of you guys might say BS. It is what it is. People talk at the end of the day, you know?
I'll be honest, man. I wish he would have thrown in, "This is my home. This is mi casa." And just like, damn, like, just I thought he was going there.
With that being said, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like on.
Okay, so that's pretty much it for this one. My final thoughts here on this is, you know, do I think that GUNZ lied about him, you know, the reasons why he initially stated that he wasn't going to be leaving Noir and then now is leaving? I think, you know, the one small out I will give him is, and this isn't a full out, but I will address and acknowledge a small out, which is that in his view, it has to very much come down to, as he said, right, for content. And being in the same season, even if you, because the idea being is like the worst thing, like the worst situation for him, because he, like I was saying before, he likes to play when he streams and be a part of those engaging PvP wars. And because that is a main focal point of the content that he puts out, not only usually when he streams, not usually solo videos, in order for him to maximize that, he would have to pray to the RNG gods that his 2 accounts, if they are in the same season, basically get paired 1 and 2, right? So even like the number 1 KVK group and then whatever the second strongest KVK group is, right? Like that would be best case scenario. Otherwise, he's going to end up having to rotate his accounts to the 2 different timelines that are usually going on in most cases at minimum in Season of Strife. So I understand it, but at the same time, I guess the question then becomes, do you feel that that is enough of a reason, when you understand it, that would justify him walking back, that he's not going to leave Noir and now is? Or do you fall on the side of the fence that, no, like, I get it, that makes sense? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. That's where I'll leave you. Man, dude, this has been so much fun reacting to just all this stuff that's going on there. And GUNZercise Me is bringing the juice, not only with his adorable biceps. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. Don't think I see that vein on your left forearm there, young buck. And we will catch you all next time.